This is a shot of hope. Tyrell was just 2 years old when his family split apart. Both his parents were struggling with drug addiction, which led to prison time, and Tyrell and his siblings were eventually placed in foster care and then adopted into a new family. The trauma of those early years stayed with Tyrell, and as a teenager he felt lost, unsure of who he was. Some high school experiences with drugs quickly blossomed into full-blown addiction. But while Tyrell was falling into the hole of addiction, his biological father, Carlton, was climbing out. And here's the crazy part. Tyrell and his brothers reconnected with their biological dad over Facebook, learned about Carlton's history of addiction and recovery. Today, Carlton's celebrating 15 years of continuous sobriety. He graduated from the spiritual recovery program at Helping Up over 15 years ago. And so when Tyrell called him one day, Carlton was thrilled to bring his son to Helping Up mission. Tyrell is now 18 months clean. Not only has he reconnected with his biological father, he's reconnected with God as Father. This weekend, as we celebrate Juneteenth and Father's Day, enjoy this story of liberation from the bondage of addiction and of reunion between father and son. This is a shot of hope.
That's my son, Tyrell Hamlin. He's 28 years old. And that's my father, Carlton Cheatham, and he's 48 years old.
So since you're older, we'll start with you, chronology-wise, right? Share just a little bit about your childhood growing up, and then I want us to come to him being born. Paint me a picture of what that was like.
I grew up in East Baltimore, close to Johns Hopkins. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. Pretty good raising. Just my mom raised us, no father. I mean, I could lead you to how I got to addiction. I had a pretty good childhood, pretty athletic. I witnessed my oldest brother get murdered in 1983, and I was 11 years old, and that really devastated me. I witnessed that. It messed me up, and I started drinking. At the age of 12, started drinking. That transitioned very fast. I started smoking cigarettes, started smoking weed, and I was off to the races. I dropped out of school in the 8th grade, and I continued on using. Tyrell's mother, we grew up somewhat in the same neighborhood, and we went to school together, middle school together. Growing up as a kid, my mom allowed us to have company and play the music. And we were sneaking and drinking and smoking weed and all of them things. And I met Tyrell's mom, and we started dating. And at the age of 17, Tyrell's brother was born. And it was on and popping from there. Like I said, it wasn't even 2 years later. She was pregnant with Tyrell, and we continued on dating and staying together and doing things. Both of us was using drugs. Our addiction both was taking off, and it journeyed into other things like snorting heroin and drinking and partying and things of that nature. And it became a real downward spiral after that. Managed to survive 5 years, staying with other people as far as her mom, her stepdad. We journeyed out on our own in our 20s, and we got our first apartment. And it wasn't long before then, we had not lost the apartment, but we had stopped paying the bills due to our addiction. And I left that house, and I took the kids. We were on the run, and not literally on the run, but you can say on the run. I wasn't staying there no more. I just decided to up and go. There was a lot of things going on around there. And so I got in contact with my mom. And she told me that the social worker was looking for me. And I ended up taking Tyrell and his older brother out to my mom's house. And I left them there. And CPS came in and they took the kids. They offered to try to help me again, but I was caught up in my addiction. And I didn't go to court. I had made a decision and I prayed about it. I said, even in my addiction, I prayed and I said, God, they'd be better off being raised by another family other than me. So I ain't go to court to fight to try to get them back. I wasn't ready to stop using. And that continued on for a long time. Afterwards, it's been like 24 years since I've seen them. And I had been back and forth to prison myself. I came here to the Helping Up Mission in 2006.
When you gave them up, how old were you, Tyrell?
Tyrell was 2.
Yeah, I was 2. So I don't really remember much when I was in foster care. And I remember like my brother like really like taking care of us a lot. And then one day we was at a foster daycare picnic, and my adopted parents at the time seen my older brother in line. He was getting us food, and I guess from that moment on, like, God was in it. So they ended up adopting us, and they adopted all 3 of us, and that's where my journey takes off, where I moved to Cumberland. Growing up was good. You know, I had everything that I ever like wanted. I had a family. It was good. Like, we had clothes and got new shoes for school and got to go on vacation.
And so, like, they were adopted, and they were adopted by a white family. And so he shared with me later on that, like, the kids used to tease, and you know, he felt a little inadequate.
Neighborhood kids.
And so he felt a little awkward, he told me. But I just knew that it didn't matter what race it would be, but I knew they could do a better job than what I could at the time.
So when did drugs and alcohol come into the picture for you?
17. You know, yeah, I felt inadequate and basically was sneaking. But a kid on my cross-country team, he came over and he said, "Hey, man, I got some weed, man." And I tried it, and, you know, I got hot, sweaty, hopped in the shower, blacked out. And I didn't really like it, but I felt cool, you know, like fitting in and stuff. So I tried it again, and I graduated high school, and I started college and really wasn't fitting in, really wasn't doing what I should be responsibility-wise, and made it through a year of school and flunked out. So I started working, and I just resorted to drinking and smoking, and that led to psychedelics, drugs, stuff that sort. And, you know, I just started like living this party scene because that's where I fit in at. And it spiraled downhill until, you know, I was picking up that pipe to smoke crystal meth. And it didn't start out as a big deal. You know, I was working and maintaining, but it started as a party on a weekend type ordeal. Then it started becoming like, all right, I need this in a work week, to where I just wasn't taking care of my responsibilities. I would go out and party on the weekends instead of being home with my daughter, my baby daughter, and, you know, enough was enough. So we ended up splitting up. That really fueled my addiction, and I guess breaking point was my grandma had passed away, and, you know, it just spiraled downhill.
So let's jump back to your story. How did you find out about this place?
I found out about this place. My brother, I have a brother, Troy Cheatham, who was here. I don't know how he managed to make it to Helping Up Mission. But at my end, I was sleeping in Bum Park over here on Fayette and Falls Way, behind by the church, St. Vincent de Paul. And I was at my end. I was broken. And I asked God not let me die like that. And I ended up at Bayview Hospital. I sat out there on the bus stop, me and a friend, and we sat out there for 2 days getting high on the bus stop. And it was over for me. I couldn't even get high. I couldn't even get high. And we had plenty of drugs and couldn't get high. Now, I couldn't get high not one bit. And I was frustrated. I got clean in March. It was cold. And he just said, we should go in here and tell them we're going to commit suicide. And they'd keep us. It's cold out here. So that sounded like the best idea I ever heard. And so we did that, and they ended up sending me to detox at Bayview. When you're in detox, you have to find a program to go to on your third day. And they had this big old catalog book with different programs and numbers. And I didn't go through that. I knew where I wanted to go because my brother, Troy, was here at the Helping Up Mission. And he had asked me to come here on different occasions. I wasn't ready. And I think he stayed here for 11 months. He stayed here 11 months. And I got out of detox. I came right here. And I ended up staying here for 8 years. Graduated the program. I had a lot of wreckage in my past. And a program member told his boss about me. And after being here for 6 months, I was able to get a job. And I stayed on that job, and I did what I needed to do. I stayed there, ended up staying there for 8 years, and before I transitioned into another job. But I stayed, and I asked God, I said, God, when my turn gonna come where I could be able to leave? And I could remember hearing that little voice in my head say, you have a lot of wreckage in your past that you had to address. And I owed the back child support for Tyrell and his two brothers. And I think I owed something like $16,000. So I really didn't have the money to actually get an apartment. And so I stayed here at the Helping Up Mission, and they allowed me to stay, and it turned into 8 years. But in 2014, I moved out. I had gotten a one-bedroom apartment. The guys introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. Being here at the mission, you had to make 5 meetings a week. And that was a great thing for me. The guys showed me where the outside meetings were. Started going to meetings. I was listening in the meetings. They said I needed to get a sponsor. And I prayed, and I got a sponsor. And I started doing step work and worked it on blind faith with the guidance of my sponsor. And told me all I had to do is be honest. I did that. As a result, Sunday I'll be celebrating 15 years. But anyhow, my youngest son reached out to me. I ain't answered the phone, but he texted me. And he told me his biological name. He said, my biological name is Calvin Cheatham. My adopted name is Marcus Helmet. He said to me, I just want to know if you're my biological father. And they found me on Facebook. And me and my oldest brother and my 2 sisters, we drove down to West Virginia. And we got an opportunity to spend time with Tyrell and Marcus, which is the youngest, my youngest son.
Well, I want to hear your perspective of this.
My older brother asked me years back, he said, if I ever found our biological parents, would you be interested in meeting them? And back then, I told him, I said, I don't want to meet them. I was fueled in addiction and wasn't thinking straight. But when my brother messaged me, and I was super emotional. I remember calling 3 times, and just before it could even ring for him to answer, I was done crying. I was really emotional, but I ended up eventually calling and like talking a little bit and asking them questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, like I would ask my parents, I would be like, where's my father? I guess, somewhere down the line, I still remembered my pop. But it really, I really started feeling different when I would see, like when I played sports, like track and field, I'd see an African-American, kid that I ran with, and his parents would come to support him, and his parents would be black, and I'd be like, his parents are black and like my parents are white. Like, what's going on? You know, like in college, that first semester of college, they had us do like family tree of our ancestors and like what ethnicity you were and stuff. And you know, I told my teacher that I was adopted, and she was just like, we ended up like sharing like our family tree in the class. And I told the teacher I didn't want to share because like deep down, I don't really know where I come from. You know, she said, well, just use your adopted family. I said, but that's really not where I come from. So I really don't feel like the same as
I mean, if you want to take the tree metaphor, you were transplanted.
And I felt like I was missing that. Like I felt like different than everyone else. I really did, you know, and that like really fueled my addiction too, because I didn't really know who I was.
12 years later, God answered my prayers. And I was praying and I kept saying, God, when you gonna let me see my kids? And I also used to go on Facebook and try to look. I would type in, search their names, their biological names, and nothing would come up. And so I would look like at pictures, Facebook requests, friend requests, to see if people look like my sons.
Did you tell him about helping up mission?
Yes, I did. I could remember them vividly in my head. And he called me one day at the job and he said, hey, Pops, I think I'm ready. And I say, ready for what? He said, I want you to come and get me and take me up to the program that you were in. I love my sons. I ain't never stopped loving them. I just couldn't do for them when I was caught up in my active addiction. And so when he said that, I said, I'm going to come and get you tomorrow.
So I got here on July 12th of 2019. And, you know, once I got here, it was rough. The first like couple days, well, I met Big John. You know, I came from West Virginia and it's like a totally like different like atmosphere. Yeah. The city lights and everything, I was bugging, you know. Even though I couldn't leave the building, it's like, I'm like, how did I get here, you know? And I remember like that first night, like messaging my adopted mom, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And the first couple weeks were rough. Things started changing. I had to make meetings. And I had to go to the classes. Like, I just started listening. Like, listening to other people talk. And just, I never really knew of any, like, recovery or anything like that. And I started talking, you know. I started talking to people. Like, I started sharing with, like, Larry and some people that was in class with me. And I kind of, like, made the decision to like keep going.
How did your relationship start to change?
Quite naturally, I want to take them and guide them and protect them, but the relationship started building, and I could tell that even now, like with Tyrell, he tends to hold back a little bit with me, but he's starting to open up too, and understand that I do love him and I want the best for him. And I just want him to feel like, okay, that's my pops. He got me, right? And as he started to come out, I started taking him to outside meetings and introducing him to other people and trying to help him get an understanding of recovery and that he's an addict. His mom and dad was both an addict. His mom used with them an active addiction, and so it's quite natural that he will have them tendencies. So I'm just trying to make him aware of like part of who he is as a person, and so that he can feel comfortable with himself. Just like we talk a lot, we do things a lot, we go out and eat, and we talk recovery and do meetings together. I think our relationship is going good for father and son. We had some good times together, man. One day we were going to a meeting and he was smoking a cigarette, right? And I looked at him and I bust out laughing. said, "What you laughing at, Pops?" I said, "Boy, you look just like me. I smoked that cigarette just like me, man." And I'm just telling you, it's just good because I'm hoping we can have a family reunion if we can make it through COVID. Everybody have the opportunity to be able to come together and be able to enjoy each other. You know what I'm saying?
You mentioned earlier describing your days of getting high, as a young man. As you're connecting the dots now, like you're thinking a factor there was not having a strong sense of identity, who Tyrell really is. Yeah. Is that an area that you've been able to grow in, like over the past couple years? Who's Tyrell today?
Tyrell today is, he's working on things. I guess through like the midst of everything I've been through, I always just like people please and will do anything just for attention and love. And so I've been working on that. Today, I'm okay being with myself. I've found out like who I am, I guess through experiences and then through relationships. Yeah, like actually like talking to like my father and stuff. I did the floors here at the mission. I would always be up in the morning dancing and everyone would be like, "Man, why are you so happy?" And I definitely get that from my father.
Yeah, he had a lot of my personality.
So
he loves his daughter. Video chats with her every day.
That I can.
I mean, he sent her money all the time. He left out the part that's being here. As a result, he got a job working at Johns Hopkins in environmental services. So he have a great personality. A lot of my traits, I'm a people person. I love people. And so, like, he have that trait too. Like, he just got a real good personality that he's working on developing and addressing some of the defects and shortcomings of his past and finding out, like, who he really is as a person. And addressing them issues. But he's fortunate. He got 3 grandmothers, he got 3 mothers, he got 2 fathers. He have a lot going for him. And I try to explain that to him. You had the best of both worlds, man. I love my son, and I want great things for him. I want great things for Tyrell, and I want him, the opportunity will come. If he stay in position, if he continue to do the right things for the right reason, and constantly work on his recovery.
As we're talking, I'm just thinking one of the primary metaphors that the Bible uses to describe God is Father, which is interesting, right? People have had all kinds of experiences, right, of fatherhood, of their father, and if they've been a father, But I guess I'm just curious, like, how that lands with you.
I just feel like that he loves me and cares for me and has never left my side, as a father. And I just feel like he's continually revealing things to me, whether it's with my biological father or just through something throughout my day. Like, I know I was like kind of listening to like Hillsong United and, just praying. And I was reminiscing about like older times, like times in my childhood. I thought about like going to Sunday school in Cumberland, and I ended up reaching out to my Sunday school teacher, and I talked to her this morning. We talked for like an hour, and I was able to like still have a relationship with her. And she's helping me out. She gave me like chapters of the Bible that are like easy reads and that aren't overwhelming. And she said I don't have to like brush through the book.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
That's cool. You reconnected with your old Sunday school teacher. As we wrap up, anything else that you would like to ask your son or speak to your son?
Yeah, I do. I just want to let him know that I love him dearly. I constantly be there for Tyrell. I just want him to know that I love him and that he can call me for anything. This whole process, I could see that God had put this together. I've been praying for a long time for this day to come, to be able to spend time with my kids and as well as being there for my grandkids. You know, I got grandkids. I was super excited about having 3 granddaughters and a grandson, and I want to get an opportunity to be a part of y'all life. And like, I still don't know who my youngest son or my oldest son, like how they grew up and how they developed their own identity. As people, I'm learning that with Tyrell right now, like who he is as a person. And at one time I said to him, I told you, I'm going to back up. I'm going to allow you to make some decisions for yourself. Because at first I started out being selfish. Oh, come on, you going with me? And he had started to meet friends here and start doing stuff like playing soccer, running back on my feet. Yeah. I was like being selfish. I wanted them to be with me all the time because I'm going to protect them and I'm going to show them how this thing works and all of that. But
got to give him his space too.
Yeah, I had to give him his space, and that's something that God dropped in my spirit. And
that's very cool.
I shared that with him. So
that's very cool. How about you? Is there anything you wanted to say to your father or ask him?
I just wanted to say thank you for bringing me to the Helping Out mission. Really gave me a chance to get my life together, and I really like our relationship, and I'm thankful for that too. I think that like helped mend a piece of my past, a piece of who I am, with spending time with you and stuff, and just like doing daily inventory on myself. I'm starting to like find myself, as a person. And I thank you, and I love you too. I just look forward to more times spending time with you.
Yeah, to come.
And just being thankful, working on my relationships with family and with God. And I love you. I
love you too. Yeah, so I tell them all the time I love them.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Thank you. This is really special. This podcast was produced by me, Vic King, with music by Blue Dot Sessions. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, you can always do that in the podcast player of your choice. And if you want, you can even leave a review or rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Till next time, peace.